and relax. It's Afternoon Karak with Aisha Al-Mazmi and Mikhail Atiyah.
On Pulse 95.
Back at it again here on the Afternoon Karak, but I'm going to be running the show solo. Aisha's going to be on a well-deserved vacation. I know she's been kind of busy working hard with the Pulse 95 team at the Exposure event, but all good things must come to an end, and if you didn't get a chance to attend the Exposure, don't worry, we have tons of podcasts for all of the guests that we've interviewed on the show. Just go to Pulse 95 Radio on SoundCloud and you're good to go. But guys, welcome to the Afternoon Karak. It's a Sunday. It's a special day. I think a lot of people know what day it is today, and if you're feeling lonely, hint, hint, then you got to tune into the Afternoon Karak. I'll keep you guys entertained and keep you company here for the rest of the hour. What are we going to be talking about today? Well, we're going to be talking about Marvel's MCU WandaVision Episode 6. Oh my God. So many crazy things are happening. I love this series so much. Aisha and I have been keeping tabs on it episode week in and week out. And just a little bit of a disclaimer for you guys, a little spoiler warning. I'm going to go into all sorts of, spoilery discussions for this episode. So warning, spoiler warning, be warned, guys. We're also going to be talking about the legendary comedian Dave Chappelle. Long time ago, once upon a time, he worked on a show on Comedy Central, and then he kind of left. It was a big controversy back in those days, and then there was a time Netflix actually had the show up back in November, but he actually boycotted it and Netflix pulled it out. But this time it came back again, but it seems with some really great terms between Dave Chappelle and Comedy Central themselves. I got all the details for that as well. We're going to be talking about a canceled video game that came out long time ago in the, mid-2000s. It was being developed, but due to so much controversy, it was pulled out, got canceled, never worked on, and now it's being picked up again for development. I just saw the trailer for it, and boy, I have a few things to express, not some good things, but I want to do it right here on the Afternoon Karak, and I want you guys to join in the conversation. Text us 4215, and Salater Do would love to hear from you. We also got our YouTube live stream on, so be sure to go to Pulse 95 Radio on YouTube. Tune in and enjoy right here only on Pulse 95.
Is it an epic or epic failure? The Big Review. Movies, games, and TV in focus.
Pulse 95.
This Friday, episode 6 of WandaVision just got out, and we have a thing here. It's become a weekly tradition on the Afternoon Karak to talk about and review every episode of any Marvel series, and the first one is WandaVision. I gotta say, Disney, this is such a, not only Disney, Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, all of you guys, what a great job just with the whole creating a new expanded universe through a television series, because it really flushes out the lore, flushes out the characters, some of these superheroes that we don't ever get a chance to watch, get to know more through the movies. And I've grown to love, over these last 6 episodes, I've grown to love Wanda, I've grown to love Vision, and I've even grown to love some of the side characters that came from Ant-Man and came from Thor. They really shine in this series. But let's get on to episode 6. I want to warn you guys, we're getting into some spoiler territory, so please be warned. If anything, just skip this segment and come back later, tune in when the episode goes up live on YouTube. So first things first, the episode starts off with a new era. Last episode was somewhere between late 80s, almost hitting 90s, the style and the aesthetic of the world and whatnot. But this time around, it's going for something early 2000, mid 2000. The intro itself, the introduction sequence, felt heavily inspired by Malcolm in the Middle, which I really liked. And this time around, we also get to see Pietro, which is Wanda's brother, be a little bit more involved in the story. And he comes off as the, sort of the slacky, cool uncle of the family, But then again, we have to come to realize that this is not the Pietro of MCU. This is the Pietro of X-Men, which could hint to, more X-Men, franchise coming into MCU. We don't know yet. This is what I love about these episodes. They give you just enough, but you keep questioning, like, what is there more to the big scheme of WandaVision? Also, Wanda herself and Vision, it's Halloween time, so they dress up in these Halloween costumes, which is huge fan service. If you guys are deep into the comics, Wanda herself, she wears the Scarlet Witch costume, as well as Vision. He wears his original style. Like, if you thought that was silly, that's actually his original costume design in the comics. I'm not kidding. Which was really, it's nice to see as well. But this time, in this episode, we see Vision really question his surrounding, his reality, and he is seemingly going off script, Actually, he's trying to, avoid being around Wanda so he can kind of traverse beyond her sight. And he actually does that. He kind of makes an excuse he has to go do the neighboring watch. But he actually is trying to find the endpoint to the reality bubble, and try to find a way to get out. And because he's beginning to realize that Wanda is bringing more harm than good to this reality bubble that she created. He can actually understand that the humans in this world are actually being tortured because of it, because they're all under her mental state. They're all being forced to do all these activities. Also, there was a thing that Vision questioned last time, where it's like, where are all the kids? I come back from work, I don't see any kids. This episode, it was a bunch of kids this time around. But was that Wanda's doing, or is there something a little bit more in control than Wanda, something that is playing some kind of experiment? Yeah, there's all these little questions, but what the shocking point is that Vision finally actually reaches the end point of the reality bubble, and he breaks through. But then he actually starts disintegrating. He can't survive outside the bubble. The sword, the sword enforcement comes in, and what's his name? Forgot his name. Oh man, the director of Sword himself. He wanted to actually kill Vision, but why would he want to do that? There was all these little hints of, if we kill Wanda, then the Nightmare will be off. A lot of fans on Reddit, on YouTube, saying that Nightmare is also another evil supervillain in the world of MCU. Could play into this as well, because there's all these theories that it's probably Nightmare, it's probably Mephisto. And ever since that, after that happened, Wanda just goes full berserk. At this point, she stops everything in motion, and she expands the reality bubble, the hex, as you can say, to go even further, and it actually absorbs a good amount of the sword reinforcement that's outside, but some people do manage to escape, and it seems that now Wanda is going full evil. This is the point where I think the bigger the hex it gets, the harder it is for her to control the reality. So I really do think that in the next episode, things are gonna really fall apart. She will not be able to, she's reaching her limit to the extent of her power. And me and my friend were saying that, now this has become more than just a threat that Sword has to deal with. It's become a threat that maybe the Avengers have to deal with. And we're thinking, who could be someone who can deal with something so bizarre and supernatural as this, and has the cosmic powers to really step in? And we're thinking, Doctor Strange has to maybe appear in the next episode or the episode afterwards. Super, super exciting. There's still so many questions. What is Pietro? Is he really that character? Did he just come into the MCU universe? Or is he a disguise? Is he an illusion just to sort of calm Wanda down? Who knows? That's just so many questions. I want you guys to tune in and to join in the conversation. Text us 4215 and Salat or Do. Would love to hear from you guys. But that is it for WandaVision, and I did say spoiler warning, so if you did watch this, I'm so sorry, but do go ahead and watch WandaVision. It's an absolute blast. We're going to take a bit of a break, but coming up next, what if you were able to rent out a theater just to play video games on? I know that would be an absolute fantasy of mine. Well, there is some places in South Korea that are doing this as a business model. Sounds exciting, right? So stay tuned right here to the Afternoon Karak.
Pulse 95.
Don't forget to join in the conversation by texting us 4215 and to Salat or Do. Shout out to Hend, a Marvel fan. She texted me regarding WandaVision. She's like, hi, this episode was really great and revealed a lot at the same time. Kept me asking so many questions. I know. This is the worst part about WandaVision is the suspense and just the little hints they give you, but then they're like, there's a little bit more, and then it's credit. And you're like, no, I want to know more, please. I can't wait till Friday. She also said the relationship between Monica and Captain Marvel. Yeah, that is something that we never got a chance to even see, or it was ever explored in the Captain Marvel movie. There was even like these little subtle scenes. I remember in the previous episodes where Captain Marvel was mentioned and Monica sort of dismissed it. Seems like there's some drama, some untold drama that hopefully we'll get to know more about. She didn't seem to care when Darcy told her about what happened to her cells. Yes, because we know in a way, Marvel fans know that this is probably building up her superhero powers. She's known in comics as Photon. I think her mother was Photon, but she could be something else. And yeah, this is some little subtle setups for fans out there. I really, really like it. And she says also, I can't tell who the bad guy is. You're absolutely right. Is it the director of S.W.O.R.D.? Is it her brother, Pietro? Is he a disguise? Is it Mephisto? People keep talking about Mephisto, but I've never met this guy. How could he be the villain if we've never even seen this dude? But maybe this is the clever way of how the show sets things up. Maybe he was there from the beginning, but we don't even know it. I keep thinking someone is disguised as her brother trying to drag more info from her. Yes, this is something else, is that every time she asks him a question, Pietro answers that with another question. Oh boy, really love the examinations. She also goes on to say, who is the engineer Monica is going to meet? That's also true. That could be, there's a theory that, it's her Skrull friend from the Captain Marvel, now all grown up. She is an engineer, and we'll also be able to see them. It says it feels like it's going to be an amazing surprise. Yes, but we have to wait until Friday, unfortunately. But until then, we're going to keep you guys entertained throughout the hour. Boy, we just went into a whole WandaVision rant, but guys, keep it going. Text us 4215 and Slaughter Dude. Would love to hear from you. But on to our story for this segment. I wanted to ask you guys, have you ever wished you can just have a whole cinema for yourself, a whole theater? What would you do with it? Would you watch your favorite movies? Would you put up your Netflix? For me, I'd love if I can just pop in my PlayStation or my gaming laptop and just play a bunch of games with my friends with that full surround, top of the just world-class audio experience, that cinema experience would be absolutely great. Well, seems like in South Korea, those gamers' dreams are going to be true because they are renting out their screens for about roughly $90 for 2 hours. And that's not bad, actually. But the thing is that what I really like about this is that we know because of the pandemic, there has been a huge dip in ticket sales. There has been a huge dip in people just not wanting to go to cinema. They don't feel inclined. They're still fearful of it. And which is why also another policy of like 50% of people can only go to theater. But if those who can, why not give them the full privilege, the luxurious privilege of not just watching a movie in the cinema, but renting it out for your own personal leisure. And that is what South Korea is doing right now for $90 for 2 hours. I know they have other deals. I can't really get into it. But the fact that you can rent a whole place and kind of just it's your own little cinematic playground, makes me think, why don't we have this here in the UAE? I know there's some cinemas where they now have like the virtual reality experience, you know, and it seems like an interesting business model, but kind of expand on it, go a little bit creative, give people more freedom with what they want to do in the theaters here in Sharjah and across the UAE. But if you have your own ideas, your own little fantasies of what you'd do in a cinema, do text me 4215 and Shoutout do. Thank you again, Hen, for texting and just geeking out with me here on the show WandaVision. And be sure to tune in next Sunday. Inshallah, we're going to be talking about episode 7. Oh boy, I know it's gonna get crazier. It's gonna get more spicier, but that's how it is here on the Afternoon Karak. Guys, I want you to tune in right after the break. I'm gonna be talking about Dave Chappelle, the legendary comedian, the controversy of why he left Comedy Central. And it seems like his dark past has finally come to a beautiful close. I'm going to have all the details for that and so much more right here on the Afternoon Karak.
This is Pulse 95.
Dave Chappelle. Now, that's a name you probably haven't heard in a long time, or you probably did because he has been in sort of a comeback, a revival in his comedic career. There was a time when he was kind of popular for his for some of the movies that he did in the early 2000s. One that a lot of people still remember him for is Comedy Central's The Chappelle Show. But unfortunately, around mid-2000, he sort of quit. He left the contract and didn't continue working on a new season. And one of his complaints was that there was a lot of stress, and he felt like what he was presenting as comedic material came off as extremely inappropriate, and he felt like it was tarnishing his reputation. And so he left, and it was a big controversy because it's like, you know, this was a $50 million deal at the time, and people in Hollywood and people across the world was like, Dave, how could you throw away a $50 million deal like that? You know, but it really showed that over time, he was a man of integrity, of dignity, instead of just selling out for, you know, a quick buck. And if anything, a lot of people respect him for that. And he has become a legend in the comedy industry, and he still makes some really great stuff. Like he has a multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix with his Dave Chappelle comedy stand-ups. And I think he's also been working on some recent projects. You know, he's just not going anywhere, to be honest. And people kind of look up to him when he comes out to the public, and he actually talks about not only like just, you know, comedy stuff and satirical and parodies, but he's someone that actually deals with talks about a lot of social issues in the United States, across the world, and he is a master of his craft. He just knows how to bring something serious but make light of it as well. And one of the things that recently happened, it was back in November, was the Chappelle Show got bought out by a license was bought out by Netflix to stream it on their platform, you know. And Dave Chappelle was quite upset about that, because the thing is that because he left that contract, he doesn't really get to enjoy any of the royalties or benefits of that show itself, only Comedy Central. So he felt sort of he was treated unfair by this. And so he actually expressed his annoyance by this to Netflix. And Netflix, in a surprise twist, actually removed the Chappelle Show from Netflix out of respect for Dave Chappelle. And you can imagine this is not a cheap move. Like it costs a lot of money because they bought the license. They want to benefit from streaming it online, you know. But in another surprise twist, Comedy Central has somewhat conceded and have brought back the rights to Chappelle, the Chappelle Show, to Dave Chappelle, and have actually brought back his name. They brought back his credits, and they even paid him the license to stream Chappelle on Netflix. And he was so overjoyed. He actually did mention this recently on Instagram. He says, when you guys stopped watching it, they called me and I got my name back and I got my license back and I got my show back, and they paid me millions of dollars. Thank you very much. And he says, after all these years, I can finally say to Comedy Central, It's been a pleasure doing business with you. And honestly, top notch to Dave Chappelle. Really, like I can't even imagine the hell he went through throughout all these years. You know, a piece of his work and his creativity was put into that show, and for him not to ever get credits for it seems like a similar case to Konami's Kojima and Konami situation when right before the game got released, the Metal Gear Solid 5, they pulled his name out, you know, and obviously he wouldn't benefit from that franchise anymore. And he's the one who created it. You can imagine how that must have felt for Dave. There's a lot more to this whole corporate dispute between Dave and Comedy Central, but it's nice to see that the show is on Netflix now and that the creator himself is being paid his rightful due, as all should creative content creators out there and people of artistic vision, those who hold on to their work and know that they should be compensated for it and be compensated fairly as well. This is a great happy ending for Dave, and best of luck to all of his future endeavors. I always love watching his content. Whatever he does, I'll be there to constantly support him. But on to our next story, a story that I feel I don't really support all that much. A game called 6 Days in Fallujah was canceled years ago, and it was very controversial. But out of nowhere, out of the blue, a trailer came out for it, and it seems like the game is being picked up for development again. Oh boy. I don't know what to tell you and how I feel about this, but I will right after this break. So be sure to stay tuned right here to the Afternoon Karak.
This is Pulse 95.
This next story carries a little bit of a controversy because it's sort of also weird timing, because there was a while back I was looking into video game documentaries, games that got canceled, and there was a game called 6 Days in Fallujah that actually got canceled back in 2009. The game itself was gonna take place in Iraq. It was a campaign that tells the story about the second battle for Fallujah in Iraq back in 2004. The game's name is derived from the U.S. Marines' attempt to recapture Fallujah from the terrorists across 6 days of the battle. Now, the reason why this was a controversy of those times, well, this was I would say at the peak when, U.S. was in Iraq and all of that, but it was because it just felt like a true story that's profiting on the exploiting on the tragedy of a horrific event, and it felt like there was also the whole anti-war group coming in saying, listen, this is a game that's depicting a really graphic and violent illustrations of something that is extremely tragic. It shouldn't be commercialized as a video game. A lot of shooters out there, of course, cover themes of war and violence and shooting and all that, but they are put in a place of fiction. They have some inspiration of real events, but they never really focus on a true story. And this was talking about a true tragic event that took place in Iraq, and it just didn't sit right with a lot of people, and it carried such a controversy, and even I to this day don't condone it. And out of nowhere, it was this weekend, I was just going on YouTube and I see a new cinematic trailer for 6 Days in Fallujah. I'm like, how is this game still being developed? This was something that was canceled back in 2009. Konami was going to step in and bring the funding and then publish it, but just, because of just how controversial this video game is, they pulled out. They're like, no, but now it's being picked up again. According to Victoria, over 100 Marines, soldiers, and Iraqi civilians have been interviewed for this game to make sure the game portrays the events of the war as accurately as possible. And this announcement for the trailer gives a little bit of that, some of the real people that were in that real event. And the developers Highwire Games is still continuing to develop this game, and it's a studio that's led by some former Bungie developers. The publisher is Victoria, founded by the CEO of the game's original developer, Atomic Games, and will be handling its release. To this day, I still feel very iffy about it. And I still would not condone anybody to buy or play this game. It comes with bad taste. No matter how you try to spin it, it is still a game that's going to be based on true tragic events, and it's being exploited for commercial use. I don't condone it. Guys, if you want to look more about this, check it out. It's called 6 Days in Fallujah. The canceled project, but now, surprisingly out of nowhere, has been revived. I will definitely keep an eye on this and see where this game goes. You know, if it even picks up, if critics criticize it for what it's worth, if it even tries to tell something that's compelling in the first place. I know their developers are coming out of they're trying to come from a good place, but then again, it will rub off the wrong way with a lot of people. But that is just my opinion. Guys, text me 4215 and Shoutout would love to hear from you. But guys, this is the end of the hour. We're going to be wrapping things up. Yellow Home and Schofield are going to keep you guys busy and entertained from 5 till 8 o'clock. So you guys are hooked for the rest of the day. But if you missed out on any of our discussions, if you missed out on any of the talk shows, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes, we have a YouTube channel. It's called Pulse 95 Radio. You find all of our favorite talk shows there. We got Morning Measures. We got Afternoon Karak, us. We got Yellow Home. We got Future Talk, and so much more. You can support us by subscribing, commenting, sharing, liking, all that good stuff. And you can also tune in to our podcast. We have it on all platforms you can imagine. Yes, it's on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Rami. Just type in Afternoon Karak and you're good to go. And that is it, guys, right here on the Afternoon Karak. Wishing you guys a lovely and fantastic day. But don't worry, we're going to be back here again at same time, same vibes, only here on Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of Afternoon Karak, drop a like and subscribe.
Pulse 95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.